5 years ago, I lost my mother to cancer, and just 2 years later, I lost my father to heart failure. And all this at a time when my own life as an independent grown woman was just beginning. While others my age were devoting themselves to their dreams, self-fulfillment, and careers, I was devoting my time to various medical consultations. I devoted my time to reading the latest cancer studies and comparing them. I dedicated my time to the various insurance companies and lawyers who relentlessly tried to find a loophole to avoid paying for my parents. I dedicated time to supporting my parents emotionally, physically, and financially. I dedicated my time to my brother and our phone calls and messages about how we were organizing the next weeks and days. So grief does not begin with death. Grief begins much earlier, when the person is alive, but you realize that the person you know no longer exists. In my case, the grief began with the diagnosis of cancer. Losing someone close to you is never easy, but there's a common misconception about grief that might be holding you back from healing. You won't believe how embracing grief can transform your life in ways you never imagined. So get ready to transform your grief into a source of strength and resilience like never before. Let's dive into this emotional journey together. Hi there, and welcome to my YouTube channel, Ready, Set, Shine. If you're new here, my name is Marija Anukege. I'm an entrepreneur, VIP women's coach, marketing expert, wife, mom, and much more. But today, I'm here just for you to show you how to live your best everyday life and be your best self as a busy woman as you are. If you are also currently grieving and are therefore watching this video, then I will firstly like to congratulate you. It means that you have survived the first phase of grief and are on the right path to normality. What do I mean by that? You may know that after a loss, there are several stages of grief that you go through. There are various theories about what these can look like. However, one theory of these phases comes closest to my experience. It is that of Verena Kast, a Swiss psychoanalyst. The 4 phases she describes are: denial. At the beginning of the process, mourners are in shock and usually do not want to acknowledge the death. Erupting emotions. Feelings arise: anger, rage, pain, guilt. These feelings help to cope with grief. Searching and separating. Dealing with places, experiences, and memories of the deceased person. Saying goodbye. And new self and world reference. The mourner sets new goals in life. The deceased person remains an integral part of life. So I am now clearly in the 4th phase and will remain in this phase until the end of my life. And that is also the first misconception that many people have. Many people, and there were also a few people around me who thought that you grieve for a certain amount of time and then this grief will be over at some point. But that's not the case. Grief is a constant companion. You can't simply put grief aside or deal with it once and for all. The big hole in my heart can never be repaired. This hole, this loss of these 2 people in my life remains. And yes, I have the great privilege of having a wonderful family and wonderful people around me who give me love. But every love is different. The love I have for my husband is different to the love I have for my children. And the love for my parents is completely different. In other words, you can't simply compensate for this hole with other loves. You have to learn, and believe me, you will learn to live with this constant grief at some point. It's like a scar that hurts at first and that you can't just take off. But with time and the right care, the scar heals, fades a little over time and remains a constant reminder of a painful experience. And if this scar is very fresh at the moment and you can't imagine that the pain will pass, in that case, you can really trust me now when I tell you that time truly heals all wounds, even yours. The great thing about our brains is that at some point it puts the pain into relative terms. Just as a mother forgets the pain of childbirth and decides to have more children, your pain will also fade at some point. So give yourself the time and go with the flow. And time is my next keyword. You have the right to grieve whenever you want. I can still remember the time right after the passing of my mother and father. Of course, this time was not only very upsetting and emotional for me, but also for those closest to me who continued to cooperate with me. Sometimes I just wanted to be alone and indulge in my grief. And at other times I had enough of it and wanted to be around people. I remember how my husband tried to manage my emotional outbursts and give me what I needed. Sometimes it was incomprehensible to him that he left me alone for a whole day at my request. Then he came home in the evening and only then did I deal with my grief. As if I could schedule the morning in my calendar. Like Tuesday from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. I have a lunch appointment. And then from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. I am grieving, and from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. I'm at the gym, and yeah, it doesn't work that way. And to defend my husband here, I had to learn that too. That's why it was sometimes difficult to fulfill my social obligations, because grief is unpredictable, especially at the beginning. Your day may start beautifully. You're feeling great, the sun is shining, and suddenly someone walks past you on the street wearing the same perfume as the person who has died. This can throw you completely off track and sometimes even affect your mood until the evening. That's why it's important that you take this time pressure off yourself. Of course, you can block out certain times in your calendar to deal with your grief. This could be visiting the cemetery, going to psychotherapy, praying, and so on. But be aware that grief will suddenly want your full attention between these appointments. Recognize this and create your own personal space for it. And now that we have cleared up the two biggest misconceptions about grieving, I would like to show you the two biggest benefits that await you when you too enter the fourth phase of grieving. Two advantages that will put you ahead of everyone else. You are fearless. You are no longer afraid. Of what? Most of the things in our everyday lives that cause us to be afraid are not justified. Our brains are trained to go into survival mode even though there is no actual danger to our lives. This can hinder us in many ways. It prevents us from pursuing our dreams, it prevents us from loving the person we really want to love, and it prevents us from living our lives as we feel is right for us personally. I can tell you from personal experience that after such a big loss, changing jobs, ending an unhappy relationship, or starting your own business is nothing compared to the pain you have experienced. And this realization makes you absolutely fearless. You are quicker to take supposed risks and realize that you can do anything if you really want to. You can now also feel fearless in your normal everyday life. I experienced this when flying. I've never been afraid of flying, but even I sometimes had a bad feeling when there was turbulence during the flight. You immediately think of the worst and wonder whether you will survive the flight. This fear is now completely gone for me. Why? Because if everything goes well and we land safely, I have a wonderful and beautiful life that I can continue to live. Again, if the plane crashes and I don't survive, I know that I can finally hold my beloved parents in my arms again. So I am no longer put off by such situations. Don't get me wrong, I want to live or as long as possible, but you know what I mean. And the second benefit is your new level of loving life. After the death of my parents, I love life even more, which is why I no longer want to put up with the average. And that makes you a Teflon for bullshit. You will no longer tolerate toxic relationships, whether in friendships, romantic relationships, workplace, or family. You experience in your own life that life can be over tomorrow. So why spend this precious time with people and situations that you can't change anyway? Life is too short to hold on to these things. And at the same time, life is too long to linger in these situations, especially as a mother with 2 small children who look up to me, who see me not just as their mom, but as a superhero who seems to know everything and does everything right. I want to be a role model who shows them that their own boundaries are non-negotiable, who shows them that we are in the world to gain experience and have fun. That self-love is the most important love of all, because only then can they truly love others. And love is the greatest gift on earth. I can promise you, even though I don't know you and your situation, that if these 2 great benefits are integrated into your life, your quality of life will increase many times more. Your self-confidence, your successes, your relationships, your financial situation, your experiences, and much more will develop in your favor. And yes, I know, none of this will bring your loved one back. But you know what? That's okay. All of our lives are limited in this world. One day you won't be here anymore either. The question is, how do you want to spend your remaining time here on earth until you see your loved one again? What have you done in the meantime? Imagine the reunion. Sitting together in a coffee shop or bar, the atmosphere is relaxed, happy, and cheerful. Good music is playing and the drinks are delicious. Would you like to sit at the table with your deceased loved one and talk about the grief that has blocked you? Or about all the adventures, funny anecdotes, and gatherings you had in your life? The choice is yours, always. So thank you for watching. If you like this video, please share, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe, and most important, go out there and shine. See you next time.